Welcome to the Countries for Kids podcast from Case of Adventure. I'm Karyn and I'm so excited that you're listening today. I'm going to be reading from A Clash of Swords in Scotland from our Scotland Adventure book. To find out more, go to caseofadventure.com. I'm reading the third part of chapter 10. As they drove along, Donnie gave them a bit of the history of the United Kingdom. Then England made a law called the Act of Settlement. It said that no Catholic could be king or queen. James II was a Catholic. He was deposed and fled to France. After the Protestant Queen Anne died, her cousin George I of Hanover, Germany, was to become the new British king. The Stuarts were no longer to succeed the throne. Scotland didn't like this at all, and they declared the Act of Security, which basically said that the Scottish people would have the right to choose a different king or queen to England. England wasn't happy with this, so they passed the Alien Act. It was like they were saying, if you want to be separate, you can be very separate. Scottish people in England were not allowed to pass their houses or fortunes on to their children. Scotland had to change their laws again. Eventually, Scotland and England became a union, and the United Kingdom was formed. Culloden Battlefield was a solemn and beautiful place. The tour guide, sporting a Scottish beret, had long hair and a shaggy beard. He wore a strange combination of red tartan kilt with leather sporran and modern blue windbreaker. He was emotional as he talked about the battlefield that was close to his heart. No jokes or humour allowed on the battlefield, he told them. The Battle of Culloden took place on 16th April 1746. This is a massive war grave where my ancestors and a lot of people's ancestors died needlessly. He pulled out a dagger similar to those used in the battle and showed them how it would have been used to go for the jugular of 8 soldiers in quick succession. On the anniversary of the Battle of Culloden each year, a blind piper plays here on the battlefield. He plays the bagpipes for 45 minutes, which is the time that the battle lasted for. There is silence other than the sound of the pipes. People who come and watch usually cry because it is so emotional and heartfelt. They watched a movie reenactment of the battle, the Scots primitive with their swords and shields, and the English with their muskets. The movie declared hundreds lay dead on the battlefield. Weeping wives and children searched for their loved ones. Innocents were shot on sight, houses broken into and the inhabitants killed, houses set on fire and prisoners taken to be marched to prison in terrible conditions. The British commander was Prince William Augustus, Duke of Cumberland, the third and youngest son of George II of Great Britain. Prince William sent a message to his father the king. Tell him that the pretender to the English throne has been defeated on this day on Culloden Moor, and that bonny Prince Charlie, as he calls himself, is on flight in the heather. Take that message to King George and tell him further that we shall end this nonsense once and for all, so that never again will the Jacobite rebellious spirit disturb the peace of our two countries. There will be no more rising of the clans in Scotland. The movie showed the aftermath of the battle and the defeated soldiers being marched off by the redcoats. The guide continued the story. Upwards of 3,000 prisoners were taken to Edinburgh to be cast into jail pending their execution. There was a roughly built stone monument with a metal plaque that read, "The Battle of Culloden was fought on this moor on 16th April 1746. The graves of the gallant Highlanders who fought for Scotland and Prince Charlie are marked by the names of their clans." There were touching tributes scattered around the memorial. The guide indicated the numerous gravestones scattered about the battlefield. The British buried the dead in mass graves. Very few names of those who died at Culloden made it on record. Years later, these stone markers were placed on the graves. Grave of the Macintoshes, grave of the MacGillivrays, MacLeans, MacLachlins, Athol Highlanders, grave of the Camerons. Wren read names as she passed each one. This headstone marks the traditional site of a grave locally believed to be the resting place of the MacDonalds who fell in action during the battle. What does this mean? Rome asked Uncle Alistair, looking at the strange words on a gravestone. Achlanaib Chun Cumbnigb. It was hard to make out. If I remember correctly, it's Scottish Gaelic for remember the fallen, Uncle Alistair replied. The guide continued. The Jacobites were mainly Catholic, but some were Protestant, wanting freedom from the High Church of England's strict practices. Bonnie Prince Charlie eventually managed to escape dressed as a woman's maid with a lady called Flora MacDonald, who was later imprisoned for her trouble. They were dangerous times, and to protect themselves, the Jacobites developed secret symbols. These symbols were to keep their cause alive and so that they could recognize each other. Jacobite secret symbols were displayed on a huge signboard near the Culloden Battlefield. Look at this, Rome beckoned to the others. The children excitedly examined the board. The white rose was used to symbolize King James, and the oak leaf and acorns was an emblem of the Stuart Restoration. The sunflower was a symbol of loyalty, and the bundle of sticks represented strength in numbers. The thistle represented the Stuarts' claim to the Scottish throne. There were photographs of houses where in the past 100 years swords and bagpipes had been found, hidden in roofs, floors, and walls. This is so fascinating. Jacobite weapons were hidden away in thatch roofs, in walls and under floors so that they wouldn't be detected by British soldiers. Just like the dirk and the crown jewels were hidden during World War II, Rome exclaimed. It says here that the white rose is the most significant symbol as it represented King James, said Wren, still examining the signboard. That's what we have to do, Rome suddenly exclaimed. We have to find one of these Jacobite symbols at Weems Castle. Wren was right with him in his train of thought. Yes, that's how we'll find the treasure, by finding the Jacobite symbol. How will we find the symbol? Asked Jake. And which one? Libby added. Maybe the white rose or the thistle or any of them really, Wren continued, somewhat deflated. We'll just have to look. Remember how we saw flowers carved into the stones in the cellars? What if it's in there? Rome exclaimed as the guide prepared to finish the tour. The cellar would be most likely to last through any attacks or bombings, wouldn't it? Thus keeping a hidden treasure safe. We'll have to talk more later, Wren whispered as the guide motioned to them to follow him. Immediately after the Battle of Culloden, the roads were policed, the guide told them. Tartans, weapons and bagpipes were all made illegal. Even speaking Gaelic was banned and made punishable by death or imprisonment. The powers of the clan chiefs were taken from the Jacobites, but the clan system did not completely die at Culloden, for it still exists today. It was the end of the Jacobite cause, and a sad one, but the culture was revived again. The bagpipe and the tartan live on as wonderful symbols of our Scottish heritage. Aye to that. Uncle Alistair heartily agreed. International Discovery Agents, this is your mission. Have you heard of the Leviathan and the Behemoth in the Bible? Find the passages where they are mentioned and read them. Do you think that dinosaurs and people could have lived at the same time? Check out Google Earth Street View for the Loch Ness Center and exhibition. Zoom in and see if you can see a statue of Nessie. That's all for now. See you next time.